What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Dummy Wormy. I'm coming at you with another video. And for those of you who aren't tuned into VTuber spheres or some of the VTuber drama that has been going on right now, there has been a massive scandal happening as of this point in time. Now, this scandal is actually very heartbreaking. It is not a fun drama to go over. There's nothing really funny about anything that is going on in this particular situation, and it's really heartbreaking. And for those of you who might not be in the know or might not even care about VTubers, just to try to put this into perspective, one of the top rated indie VTubers, somebody that people really loved, was able to communicate very well, had a very good personality that people were able to latch on to, ultimately turned out to be a very cutthroat individual, going so far as even willing to cut down her own perceived friends, all to get that bag, and viewed streaming and content creation as nothing more than a zero-sum game, and in the grand scheme of things was ultimately shown to be nothing more than a heartless harlot, for lack of a better term, and trying to go around YouTube censorship. But again, let me get you some of this information because there's a lot that's been happening. I'm not going to go over every last single doc that has come out. You can go out and check my two streams on this matter, one of which was over 3 hours long and the other which was about an hour. But again, for those of you who are unaware, this is Cinder. Cinder is this indie VTuber that, again, was on top of the world. Massive streams, massive fan appeal, somebody that people were able to gravitate towards with a personality that was always just joyful, bubbly, and people viewed her on a very honest level. And when it comes to VTubing and being a VTuber, one of the key aspects outside of your model is also your personality. Your model has to at least be decent, but if you have a decent model and a fantastic personality, you're going to go far in that sphere. And when it came to Cinder, not only did she have a top rated model, she also had a personality that was just infectious, a personality that people were able to just look upon and be like, you know what, I want to smile right now. And Cinder was a part of a crew called the Girly Pops. The Girly Pops was a bunch of other, female VTubers that were all very infectious with their personality, very friendly, very kind, very open. But most importantly, Cinder's model was made by a person named Nanoless. Nanoless is a top-rated VTuber model artist. She does work for some of the best artists out there. And over the weekend, we ended up getting this document dropping from Nanoless. This document sparked everything. In this document, we had a horde of evidence showing off that not only was Cinder and her manager Red, who's also her boyfriend, were extremely manipulative and extremely gaslighting to Nautilus, they also viewed their best friends, Bao, who was one of the key aspects to this, who was somebody that has known Cinder for years on not just a content creation level, but on a personal level. Did a lot of collaborations with her, did TwitchCon panels with her, went on vacations, and celebrated birthdays with her. It came out that Cinder and her boyfriend, Red, who was also her manager, viewed Bao in a very negative light and went so far as to try to blacklist her and cut her off from Nautilus, who was working on a new model for Bao. Now, for those of you who might not understand VTubering and all this stuff, making a model is huge. This is a long endeavor and can take up to a year at sometimes to make sure you have all the art ready for your model debut. And when you get it cut off last minute, it's super hurtful. And what we ended up seeing shortly after this was Bao made her own unique document going over a lot of this information and ultimately informing the audience that Cinder knew that Bao was getting a model made by Nautilus and it got canceled. Cinder knew this stuff. Everybody was aware of this stuff. And from Bao and a lot of the girly pops and people that know Cinder and Bao on a personal level, they were able to show and explain to the world that no matter what is going on right here, it doesn't matter what's coming from Red, because more often than not, words that are said by Red are also shared by Cinder. And Back in the Nanoless doc, we also have information that basically establishes that the same things that Red was saying to Nanoless, Cinder was repeating. So we had all this information. We watched as Cinder cut down Bao, tried to blacklist her, tried to blacklist people like Silverveil, Cottontail, Shylily, people that were her friends, if not people that weren't actually even connected to her, but Cinder had some sort of spiteful vendetta against them for whatever unknown reason. We learned a lot of very heinous things. And on Saturday, when all these docs were coming out, there was roughly 6 to 7 different documents. Relatively, 5 of them were more important. The sixth one only really establishes that Red was her boyfriend and, well, Cinder cheated on Red with some other dude. Shortly after all these docs started releasing and all this information was coming out, we had this from Cinder. Effective immediately, Redacted would no longer be managing or overseeing my VTuber activities. He no longer represents me as a creator, my brand, or my intentions. I'm sorry, everyone. I will make a larger response when I'm able. Now, you can obviously see that this got community noted, and community noted rightfully so. And we're going to read this community note because it's really damning for Cinder as a VTuber. Cinder revealed themselves, as well as Van Peach's VT, that Redacted/Red was Cinder's partner. Moreover, per Bao's, Nanoless, and Silverveil's account, Redacted acted with Cinder's knowledge and consent, both of which directly engaged in libel towards other creators. When people are going over this information, when people are talking about this, a lot of things that keep coming out from people that are more defending of Bao is that there's no evidence to say that she knew exactly what Red or Redacted was saying to these people. There's no evidence to support that. There's no claims or proof that any of this was going on. The problem with that particular argument is that people like Bao, who again knew Cinder on a more personal level. For crying out loud, they recently went to Japan together, if not a few months ago, and they filmed a bunch of content creator. Bao and Cinder were a part of the girly pops that would frequently get together to celebrate people's birthdays. They would go on grand vacations. They would go hang out together all the time. They talk to each other on a more personal level that people truly aren't gathering on this. So when Bao and several of the other people that know Cinder on this personal level come out here and say, hey, Cinder and Redacted are joined at the hip essentially and are constantly in communication, and when you talk to one of them, you're essentially talking to the other one as well, you have to throw that context in. We aren't dealing with a bunch of randos on the internet that have never met each other in person. We're dealing with people that were friends for several years at this time and went on several vacations together and communicated constantly. You need to take those into account. So when they're saying this stuff, when they know these people on this personal level, you need to account for all that and realize that there's more going on than meets the eye. Well, shortly after Cinder came out with this whole I'm cutting off Red from my management, not fully admitting that she's breaking up with him, she decided to drop another massive doc. And this document was her not so apology, in which she really just throws Red under the bus, gives a bunch of excuses as to why she was reacting the way she was reacting, gives a bunch of reasonings, gaslights the public, tries to say that this was all Red's fault and not her fault. But the problem is, again, at the very beginning of the doc, she says that Red's no longer a part of her management, but she's not openly saying she's breaking up with Red and Red's gone. She's saying that that's going to stay private as long as possible. There's a lot within this document that just reads as, hey, I'm trying to save face right now and save my career, and no real apologies are actually given. It's actually just excuses and throwing Red under the bus the entire time. This was an awful apology. And again, you can go watch my stream where I go over the apology. And what came from this apology was two very important things. And it wasn't actually from Cinder that was important. It was from Bao and Shylily. Now, when you come over here to Bao's post, you can see something very important. A lot of people were saying, again, that Cinder had no idea that Nanoless canceled on Bao. There's no proof of this happening. When you go through Bao's post here, she reveals an important piece of information. How? How can you say you didn't know? I showed you both my base model sketch from Nano at WeebCom. We walked on stage and performed together. You were in the group chat where I shared my sadness over Nano suddenly canceling my model after we were so close to begin live 2D and rigging. And to now find out that just the day before I shared my sadness, this is the conversation that happened that ruined months of debut prep, planning, merch, preparations. If you want to apologize to me, please do it properly and stop hiding behind red. Now, again, I went over a lot of these screenshots in the streams. Go watch those if you want to. What these screenshots were was predominantly redacted or red, her boyfriend slash manager, talking to Nanoless and openly telling Nanoless to cancel on Bao because Bao's an established creator. She will 100% find somebody else to make her new model. And the key thing that came out of this was this from Bao right here, where you can openly see that this is a girly pop chat right here. This is Bao posting in the girly pop chat and forming all the girly pops. That's Numi, Vienna, Yuzu, Cinder, Tricky, that her model with Nano was canceled and it tore her apart. This was very important. This was something very important to Bao, and to end up finding out that her best friend, one of her closest colleagues, was behind this model getting basically canceled, that devastated Bao. That devastated her, and that shows just how much Cinder was willing to cut her down. Now, the more important part of this also comes from people like Shylily. Shylily responded to Cinder's apology. And I'm going to read what Shylily said, but there's another key aspect to this that some people are trying to say paints Shylily in a villainous light, but it actually paints her in a light that shows you don't F with her friends. But let's read this real quick. The absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolute insanity. The pain and mental torment you've caused to the ones closest and most supportive of you has been devastating, and I have never been so heartbroken and hurt so badly for my friends. You are the fakest person I've ever had the displeasure of supporting, reading and hearing of how you've really viewed me behind my back, not just through screenshots of your man, but also your very own messages, while having to sit here and read through these BS lies you spin makes me want to vomit. To claim that you didn't know a single thing and had zero awareness of what your man was up to, when everyone who's shared even a single moment with you knows that you basically operate as the same person, sharing every waking moment while loving to jump at the slightest opportunity to turn into your most slanderous self as soon as the opportunity was given, even when talking about your friends, is sickening. I have experienced your own actions without red, in a situation where in your own screenshotted words, you express a pressure to live up what Lily is, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning just because you constantly chose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them, just to earn the bag and compete with me over a V-Card collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. You actively lied about it to them, instead blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your arse. When you realized you were being a bad friend, why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days in that friend's career? Everything you do is out of competition through your constant need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from to begin with. You're welcome, by the way. You claim that it's just business. Well, in the business world, there has to be accountability, and all you've done is try to shove it away and admit nothing. In true narcissistic fashion, you're the only feeling sorry about yourself and your own consequences and your career, and try to salvage it. I'm sorry for everyone who looked up to you as an inspiration, and I'm especially sorry for your fans. Pyro Pups deserve better. One of the key aspects of this is that Shylily and Cinder are both owners of gamer subs. They are some of the key promotional material to gamer subs. And Shylily has even come out and said that Cinder begged to be in the position that she is in now. That Cinder wanted to be a partial owner of gamer subs. That Cinder wanted all this stuff. That Cinder craved this stuff and got to this position off the backs of people like Bao, Numi, Yuzu, Shylily, Cottontail, so many others. She utilized all of them to get to where she is, and she is trying to now throw them under the bus and say that all this pressure of having all this stuff that I begged for is the reason I acted this way. Red is the reason I acted this way. All this is the reason I acted this way. And Shylily sees right through it. And the key part about Shylily coming out here and listing this savage moment, this just savage takedown that Shylily is not known for, mind you, is because Shylily is actually the person that caused all this. And I know what people are going to be saying. They're going to be wondering, what do I mean by she caused all this? Well, in this video here that I will be adding in the description down below, Shylily comes out and admits she saw a leak from communications between Red, Cinder, and Nanoless, went to Nanoless to inform Nanoless that none of this is true, and through there, Nanoless started piecing together that all the BS that was being sent her way was nothing more than manipulation and gaslighting. Through this, Lily ended up seeing what Cinder and Redacted were saying about Bao. She went to Bao, and she had a hard time going to Bao because the saddest part about this was Bao was dealing with a serious debilitating issue at the time that she had to even seek surgery for, struggling with some serious depression stuff that was nightmarish for her. And Lily, being the good friend that she is, knew that she needed to tell Bao about how Cinder was treating her behind her back. In this video here, you hear what Lily had to say about the whole situation. She doesn't regret it because, in my eyes, and what I hear what Lily's saying, she's doing this because she's a good friend. She's doing this because knowing all this, knowing what Cinder's saying behind her back, knowing what's happening here is incredibly important. And they have more screenshots that they're not willing to put out for justifiable reasons because it has a lot of personal info in there. And when it comes to VTubers, there's some personal info that you just don't want out in the world. But they have so much proof right now to show off that Cinder isn't the person she says she is. Through all the Google Docs, you can piece together that Cinder, as of right now, is a gaslighting, manipulative individual. And if you need any more proof, there's another video I will be linking down in my description, which this is Bao discussing the whole situation. And I'm not going to play this video, not just because it's an hour long, but because it's hard to listen to. Because it's very difficult to go through. Because you have to sit there and listen to Bao bawl her eyes out at one of the lowest points in her life. This whole situation is devastating. This whole situation hurts several people and ultimately shows that Cinder, on this incredible quest to the top, wasn't happy with where she was already, having literally everything and having something that VTubers would pray to have for themselves. She was willing to cut down her friends. She was willing to hurt others, all because she wanted to get that bag. She had serious self-doubt issues. She had serious narcissism going on. And when finally called out about it, she still is incapable of actually taking full responsibility and has to blame others for her actions. What's going to happen from this is Cinder's already losing numbers. Cinder's already seeing what happens when the veil gets broken and people see just how scummy and sickening you truly are behind your veneer that you have been put up for the entire world to see. Is Cinder going to lose it all? Probably not. What will happen is Cinder's no longer going to be one of the top dogs. People are going to be laughing at her for an entire year. People are going to be mocking her. People are going to be watching her like a hawk. Because in reality, Cinder did this all to herself. She had it all, and through her own ego, narcissism, and self-esteem issues, she had to burn it all down because she couldn't handle just being a genuine friend to people. But hey, when it comes to all this, this isn't fun drama. This isn't Ethan Klein versus Hassan. This isn't Ethan Klein versus iDubbbz. This isn't, like Destiny drama or anything like that. This is sad drama. This is depressing drama. And in the world of VTubers, drama like this makes everybody sad. VTubers are supposed to be there to try to raise us up, make us all happy, have a fun time as we're out there celebrating anime, playing games, and listening to music. What this is a cold hard reality. Even though people are coming out here and saying that individuals like Cinder are very rare, you're not going to find a whole lot of people like Cinder on the internet. The sad reality is situations like this are more common on the internet than you would believe. People are always fake on the internet, and you don't truly know somebody that you meet on the internet. No matter how many times you go out with them, no matter how many times you spend time with them, you don't always know them, because at the end of the day, they can always go offline, hide in a dark room that you'll never see, you'll never know, and you'll never be a part of, and they'll show who they truly are. I know people don't want to admit it, but people like Cinder are a dime a dozen, and there's a whole lot more people out there like this than people want to accept. But hey, it is what it is, and it's the reality of content creation. But I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Let me get you guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it out with friends, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video and go live, guys. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.